Hiro Nakamura was my favorite character in the television series Heroes. He was pure and wholesome in a way that none of the others were, and in the first season he seemed to be the most dedicated to stopping New York City from exploding. But I had two very big problems with Hiro. The very nature of his abilities made him overpowered in such a way that the plot had to move in exceedingly idiotic directions so that this person who can bend time and space does not take care of this huge threat in one episode. And much like many of the characters, after the first season, I don't feel like the writers knew what to do with him. Fortunately, I have some solutions on how the character could have been improved. The idea of a time traveler who saw the destruction of New York City and is unaware of how that happened and spends a season trying to prevent it, that's pretty good. But they needed to put some kind of boundaries on his powers so that it's believable that it would take him an entire season to get to the bottom of this threat. My solution is Hiro can handle small bursts of his powers, like stopping time for just a few seconds, teleporting across the street, or jumping forward or backward in time a day. This still makes him incredibly powerful, but not so powerful that he renders the other characters pointless by his presence. In the series, he teleports 6 weeks into the future in the first episode, and doesn't even realize he has teleported into the future until the second episode when he's being interrogated by the police. My suggestion to make this task a little less easy for him is that jumping to the other side of the planet, especially 6 weeks into the future, exhausts Hiro to the point that he nearly passes out. Instead of it being a surprise that he's teleported into the future to him and the audience, we will find out immediately. He sees a headline on a newspaper when he's picking up the issue of the Ninth Wonder. The revelation that he's in the future during the interrogation scene is a nice smack in the face to the audiences. Oh, I didn't see that coming, but surely the explosion that engulfs New York City would do that too. We shouldn't be allowing for Hiro to be the most powerful character in all of fiction, all for the sake of a surprise reveal that is almost immediately usurped by another surprise reveal, and one that propels several of our characters into action over the course of the season. Something huge like jumping several weeks into the future across the planet, that weakens Hiro, and then in the face of death, he does it again, and that almost kills him. So when he does convince his friend New York City is in danger, and to help him save it, we now have a good reason why Hiro doesn't teleport them both to New York City immediately. In the series, Hiro decides they will only travel by plane and car, because that's how it happens in the prophetic comic book he got from the future. Except that same comic book also shows the explosion of New York City, which he is trying to prevent, so I don't know why he thinks he should follow the rest of the comic to the letter. This would offer a good reason why Hiro has to take it slow. Over the course of the season, he will practice using his powers, and he might become stronger so he isn't ready to die after jumping a month and a half in time. In season 1, we see Hiro's father Kaito twice, once to try to get Hiro to return home because he believes Hiro's quest is foolish, and later again to train Hiro how to use a sword. I guess because now he believes in Hiro's quest. I would throw out the first appearance, and instead of having Kaito train Hiro with a sword, I would have him help Hiro to learn to master his abilities. Kaito was one of the founding members of the company that hunts down, studies, and imprisons people with abilities, so if anyone could be expected to know how to help Hiro, he would probably be it. The original plan for this series was to have an ever-shifting cast, and most of the characters featured in season 1 probably would not come back. Keeping most of the cast around is fine, as long as you can think of something good to do with their characters. But with Hiro, if you are building up his power so that he has more control and is able to use it in greater bursts over the course of the season, then he really should not be featured in future seasons, because eventually you would run into the same problem the series ran into, in that he is way too powerful and can take care of any problem he is aware of just by thinking hard. My suggestion is that at the end of season 1, when Hiro stabs Sylar with the sword, Hiro somehow dies. Sylar kills him. We neuter the threat Hiro poses to the integrity of the series. The season 2 we got mostly keeps Hiro stranded in feudal Japan, where he is accidentally responsible for corrupting the man who wants to kill off most of the planet's population with a virus in the present day. If Hiro can suddenly control his jumps over 300 years, which he does manage to do, then he is way too powerful. Even with his father helping him to master his abilities, I don't think he would have enough time, no pun intended, to be able to control a jump like that. Much like Claire Bennett, I don't think anyone working on this series really knew what to do with Hiro after he defeated Sylar, so kill him at the end of season 1, and then do what Tim Crean originally planned, and introduce new characters like Monica and Maya. You can still keep some of the characters from season 1, but like I said, you have to have a good reason to keep them around, and their very existence should not make it harder to tell stories, which is what you get with Hiro sticking around. But there is a way that you can still use Hiro if you want to, without compromising the series. Remember in the middle of season 1, Hiro met a waitress in Texas who Sylar later killed? Hiro stopped his quest for, admittedly, a pretty good reason, because he wanted to try to save this lady's life, and he accidentally jumped 6 months into the past instead of 1 day, and he falls in love with the lady, only for her to tell him that she has a blood clot which will kill her. It's a bittersweet story, but it does very little for Hiro's heroic journey. If anything, it sends the wrong message, since he is trying to change history. This reminds me of the Guy Pearce Time Machine movie, where no matter what he does, he cannot save his wife. But Hiro is able to change history, so we're getting mixed signals on that one. Instead of Hiro meeting and falling in love with the waitress, what if he accidentally gets stuck in the future? I know we have an episode close to the end of season 1 where he goes 5 years in the future, where we get to see more of the aftermath of the explosion of New York City. But I'm thinking of something a little different. Maybe a little complex, but I think this would be kind of cool. At some point, middle of the season, something happens to make Hiro attempt to jump without Ando. Maybe just a simple attempt to save someone he sees in the parking lot, but it goes wrong. Hiro disappears for a few seconds relative to Ando, and comes back. He sees the person in need of rescue, he saves them, then he tries to act like nothing happened. Ando says, "Hey, what happened? Where did you go?" Hiro tries to brush him off. "Oh, it's nothing. I just accidentally teleported over there instead of over here. It's no big." But the keen-eyed viewer will notice that Hiro is wearing different clothes. His hair might be a little longer. Stuff that Ando wouldn't necessarily pick up on, but if you're paying attention, you would figure that Hiro just spent a lot of time somewhere, somewhen else, and has come back to finish the events of the season. I would want Hiro to show up periodically for the rest of the series, to help a character, preferably one he hasn't met before, and then before he can get comfortable, he disappears again, only to show up again in the next season, where he encounters some other character and somehow participates in the plot of that season. You could keep Hiro around indefinitely, as long as he does eventually return to the middle of season 1 to eventually get killed off. Obviously, this would have to happen before his dad trains him, since making several jumps into the future would only happen if he is still pretty inexperienced with his powers. The confusing part of this would be that Hiro jumping into the events of later seasons would, for Hiro, happen before the exploding man is stopped. In season 1, the characters are all on a collision course for the dark future we see in the episode 5 Years Gone. It isn't until after the exploding man is stopped in the season 1 finale that the future scene in that episode is erased, and we are open for a new future. So how does Hiro from middle of season 1 jump into a different future that the characters would be experiencing in season 2 and 3, etc.? Throw some sci-fi gobbledygook that, in addition to jumping in time and space, Hiro can also jump into different times and spaces, a reality that is slightly off course from the one he hails from. That's why he has so much trouble getting back to his own time, because he's interacting with a future that isn't the one he is currently trying to prevent in season 1. This way, I feel like you could continue to use an inexperienced Hiro in temporary spurts as long as the series continues, but you also don't run the risk of Hiro being too powerful and having no real purpose in the series. This could have been cool, but of course I would think that, so what did you guys think? If you like it, I hope you'll stick around. In a week, I'll be doing another video on how Heroes could have been improved. Until then, have a good one.